go back to Gotham and I will fight men like this, but I will not become an executioner.
Bruce, please. For your own sake, there is no turning back.
Hi, this is Michael Uslan. You're listening to Batman on Film.
Talking about the tales where the shadows crawl. Chapter by chapter, we've covered it all. From the capes and cowls to the darkest night. Every film, every fight, a fan's delight. Turn the page, Gotham's glory awaits. Batman on film, where legends create. Oh, we ride through the Gotham skies. From the bat's rise to the villain's eyes. Turn the reels, where the story is bright. I'm Batman on film, the legends alive. Break down the madness, scene by scene, where the city's pulse and our dreams convene. From the old to the new, the saga unfolds. A vigilante sail in the echoing cold. Step into Gotham where justice turns. Through words and whispers, the bat returns. Oh, we ride through the Gotham skies. From the bat's rise to the villain's eyes. Turn the reels where the story is bright. I'm Batman on film, the legend's alive. In the shadow of the night, tales untold. Pages turn as the saga unfolds. Join the journey in this timeless quest. Batman on film stands above the rest. Oh, we ride through the Gotham skies. From the bat's rise to the villain's eyes. Turn the reels where the story is bright. I'm Batman on film, the legend's alive.
Welcome to Chapter 5 of Batman Begins, chapter by chapter of Batman on Film podcast, celebrating the 20th anniversary of Christopher Nolan's game-changing film. I'm senior contributor Javi Trujillo, and joining me today is a librarian with his own book club, the biggest frolicker I know that isn't Pete Vera, and the number one fan of The Long Halloween, senior contributor Ryan Lauer. What's going on, pal?
Hey, Javi. Yeah, a few things there. Nobody frolics as much as Peter Arvera. I am honored that the title comes to me of The Long Halloween's number one fan, and I'm doing great. And thanks for reaching out to me and inviting me on to this chapter by chapter, because I had no idea Batman Begins was revolutionary. I had no idea. I had no idea. It's crazy.
Yeah, I don't know if you've heard of it or seen the movie before today, but yeah, it was a big deal.
I watched this little section that you told me we were going to talk about, and you know what? I'm hooked. I think I'm going to watch everything before it and after and see how this whole thing snaps together.
The whole thing's a banger, man.
It's a banger. All right.
So, as this is your first chapter by chapter, I've got a few questions for you.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, before people know you, so we don't have to go through your favorite
People know
Batman
me.
and story and all that, but in regards to Begins, before we get into the episode proper, tell me about your first experience of seeing it. Like, where and when did you first see it?
Bill had asked me, he'd bet money that Forever was my first Batman movie in a theater. And I said no. And then he was horrified that Batman and Robin was my first Batman I saw in theaters. And I said no. Actually, Batman Begins was the first Batman movie I ever saw in a theater. And I had, I had graduated from high school just a few weeks prior. This was obviously something I was looking forward to. I've been looking forward to the Batman movie for forever, and was like, man, it's taken so long. If it comes after I get my license, then I can go to whatever movie I want to because I can drive myself. And it waited 2.5 years after I got my license. Finally came out, and I worked. I knew it. I just knew that I was working and I was going to be scheduled to work the day of release. And
Oh,
how am I going to see this movie if they're going to schedule me? Well, fortunately, they scheduled me in the afternoon and evening shift, so I had the mornings open. And so I went a theater that was about a half hour, 40 minutes away with two friends. We got up and we were like, the first showing they have is at 10 a.m. We are driving there and we are going to see it. If you guys sleep in and you miss my call, and I don't care. I'm going by myself. So I went. Yeah, that was my first showing. Was in the morning, the day of release, and it was excellent, just excellent. Blew me away. We ate at Arby's afterward, and then on the way home, I stopped at the Sam Goody so I could get the Nintendo GameCube version of Batman Begins, the video game. Uh,
nice.
and then got to and then had to sit on that game unopened because as soon as I got home, I had to change and go to work for 9 hours or whatever. And so it's just like that whole shift. Gosh, it was great because I've already experienced Batman Begins, so I was just thinking about it. But then it was also like I've got more Batman Begins waiting for me when I get home. So
You were on
it was a
that
good
high.
day. Yeah, I was. I mean, it'd have been terrible if it was reversed, if
Yeah.
it had the game, but I hadn't seen the movie yet, and I was waiting all day to see the movie. So it worked out the way that it did, and I'm glad. And then 2 days later, me and a big group of friends went to like an hour to another movie theater, and none of them had seen it yet. And so I got to go with them to go see it in the second time. And I think that was the first movie that I'd seen 3 times in the theater. I hadn't seen many up to that point, many movies, even twice in a theater, but it had happened. I can't even remember which ones, but I had maybe Godzilla 1998 was like the first I'd ever seen a second time in a movie theater.
Wow.
Yeah, so something like that. So Begins, yeah, it was one of like I was in charge of my own viewing, of my destiny. So I was
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna go as many times as I can, which is funny to think now that like, and I only went 3 times. But when it's not like I was making great money in that summer job, and the theater wasn't close, so it could get a little pricey. So I was pretty happy that I went 3 times. So
I think you should be commended, for not calling work and being like, I'm sorry, I got to call off sick. I've got eye
yeah,
problems. I can't see myself coming into work today.
I know. Yeah,
The fact that you,
I fell in a cave.
yeah,
I can't
you
get. I
know.
can't get out. I'm calling from the cave right now.
So we kind of touched on it, but how invested were you in the hype, and where does it fall amongst your favorites?
I totally like so invested, and I can even picture now in class in school, one of those senior classes, a friend of mine even saying, "I just don't think this Batman movie is going to be any good." And I was like, I can't believe the words you're saying right now. Okay, this movie is going to be so good. It's going to be so fantastic. And he's like, "Well, who's the villain?" I'm like, "It's a villain named Ra's al Ghul." He's like, "I don't even know who that is." And I'm like, "Of course you would know who that is, okay? But just believe me, it's going to be really good." I was all invested. Obviously, Batman Begins is how I found Batman on Dash Film. And so going there, and I think, I don't know if movies.com or Superhero Hype. I think they actually had stuff too. So it's like get Bill's info, and then there'd be other opinions on some of these other sites. So it got really fun of going to these different sites. So I was all in on everything. And actually in front of Ocean's 12, I'd gotten for Christmas movie theater gift card. And my aunt was going to take me and my brother to go to the movies, and I'd pick a movie, whatever you want to see. And I knew that the Batman Begins teaser was playing in front of Ocean's 12. I did not want to see Ocean's 12, but I convinced them like Ocean's 12, Ocean's 12, just so I can see the Batman Begins teaser in a theater.
I mean, that's like a twofer because it does have Batman in it.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then what was where does it rank among mine?
Yeah, I know the
It's
Dark Knight's your top.
Dark Knight's my top, and I honestly think 89 is number 2. So given the day and the mood, like it can shift 3 and 4. I want to say Returns is is 5 for me, and I'll want to say sometimes, but I know it's just pure nostalgia that could jump into 4 or 3. But no, I think it's Begins in the Batman. I think can flip back and forth at 3 or 4.
Not a bad ranking.
No, not at all. And if it was, then I'd leave. If you said that was bad, I'd be like, bye, Javi. I'm out.
Well, for today's episode, we're looking
Yes,
at
sir.
what we've designated as Chapter 5.
Oh, okay.
There's No Turning Back, which starts at the 35-minute, 54-second mark and runs till 46 minutes and 58 seconds. As you post to Scott Beatty last month, are you ready to begin?
I am ready to begin. Thank you.
All right. We open with Bruce's initiation to lead the league, with his fear having been purged per Ducard. Raish, Raz. Oh, let me interrupt. Where do you stand on the Raish Raz?
I think we can all agree that it's not Raz Al Ghul.
Oh, God.
Everything else is acceptable.
Okay.
As long as it's not Raz Al Ghul.
I'm trying to keep
I
it-
always say Raz. I always
I'm
just
trying
say
to
Raz.
keep it in line with whatever material I'm talking about.
Sure.
So if we're talking BTAS, it's Raish. Begins, they call it Raz, so trying to roll with it, but I've gotten so used to Raish that I may slip up there. So sorry about that, dear
No,
listener.
that's respectable.
Yeah.
That's respectable.
Raz has a criminal brought out for Bruce to execute. Bruce is appalled, stating he has no executioner, but Ducard urges him that it is necessary. The system is too corrupt, with those sworn to protect as guilty as the ones they claim to fight. And Raz switches to English to explain that Bruce cannot lead these men unless he demonstrates that he can do what is necessary to defeat evil. And as Bruce is Gotham's favored son, he would be ideally placed to strike at Gotham's heart of criminality. Gotham must be destroyed, like Rome or Constantinople before it. So let's unpack all this. Is Gotham really that far gone? And how does this plot compare to Raz's usual motivation of environmental balance?
I think the character of Raz is... he says a lot of things that I think are true. And I think he's not too far from being wrong. It's then his actions that are, he goes the wrong way about it. I think and those are the best to me Raz stories. And this one too, up to this point, I don't know, like, you're just taking them at their word as the state of Gotham, because it was, I mean, you got the Rachel flashback and telling you things are worse than ever down here, but I almost feel like we don't get as much scope of how bad Gotham really is. Like, we get some appetizers, I think, but it's because the movie's got it, like, we're focusing on Bruce here, so we're just kind of taking Raz at his word for it, about how Gotham must be destroyed. And I was like, okay, just because we'd kind of seen enough, and we just know that Falcone has he has a hold, or thinks he has the hold on Gotham, but it's not in the worst shape. I don't know. I had no qualms or anything, and still have no qualms with, like, it's not like a nitpick or anything like that. I just take him at his word for it, because the movie's got to keep going.
Yeah, I think, as we get deeper into the film, like, you see that there's levels to Gotham, like when Bruce is out with his, rich friends, like, everything seems fine. But for the, the working class or the poor, like, it's a very different world. And, the decadence is, I don't know, it feels like it contradicts a little bit, like how what Alfred says to Bruce later about, how the Wayne's death, like, helped inspire people, feels in contradiction to, like, how Raish and Raz and Rachel see it, where, everything is so bad. But Alfred is also not. I don't think Alfred's like roaming the streets, like putting his finger on the pulse of like the average citizen either.
I agree.
But I really like Watanabe in this scene, like just his when he switches to English, like his delivery, the way he rolls his R's and Rome or Constantinople. I can't do it, but
he I think he hams it up pretty hardcore.
Yeah.
And there's two parts. Each one when he says, and it's like an injustice. Like he really leans into the injustice reading as well as Kath must be destroyed. Like he's hamming, like
his zealot comes out a little bit there.
It's a little bit ramping it up some. Those always stood out to me as like I do little giggles because I just think it is hamming. I knew because I was immature. I was 18. I knew of the spoiling of the end of the movie and who really was Roz. I knew that before seeing the movie. So I can't sit there and say that I knew that how it felt and he seemed or anything like that. It's like to me, my mind was then working of like, oh, when does it come out that Ducard is Roz? Like I just remember that was my viewing of the movie. So then Watanabe, it was just, I don't know. I was viewing him differently. Unfortunately, I couldn't just take his performance as like, this is Roz and then experience.
You weren't taking it at face value then.
Yeah. So that's a bummer. Yeah. That's a bummer that I know for sure, because that was my distraction of with his scenes was like, but he's not Roz. So what's really like, rather than just watching and acting like, no, absorbed that he's Roz right now.
So given that perspective that you had going in, do you like his performance in the movie?
He's all right. I won't say, I'm not going to say like negativeness about it. He was just all right because he was just so limited, It's like then when the movie's over and you think of Ducard as Roz throughout, that is so like, that's Ra's al Ghul. The mentor, the training, the respect, and the lessons when they're allies and then when they're enemies, like all of that is, I felt very much at the time, very limited exposure to the character in the comics even. And, past 20 years, I've had a ton of exposure to him and doing my homework and rereading stuff and all that. And I feel like as needs to happen in movies, they had to do inspired by and, make some alterations, but I thought it was pretty damn respectful of the character.
Rejecting Roz's trial, Bruce instead strikes at a coal poker and starts a fire instead of beheading the man, leading to a sword fight in the monastery between him and Roz, air quotes. So I'm a big fan of Batman 244 from September of 1972. And in that issue, we get the iconic desert sword fight between Batman and Roz. So
you're leaving out a key detail. The shirtless part. The shirtless sword
fight. Bare-chested, hairy-chested.
That's right.
Love God, as Morrison describes him.
Thank you. Okay.
So to this date, like this is the closest we get to something resembling that in live action.
That's a good point.
Yeah. So as a Bat scholar, what was running through your head during this fight? Especially like for me, I'm like, this is kind of like that issue. But for you, you're looking at it from, well, this isn't really Roz.
Yeah. And also, like, admittedly, 2005 was a different time. 18 years old, I did not have a massive Batman library because I was small town. I had to buy if you wanted to read stuff. So I hadn't read that issue. I didn't know that issue. Didn't think of the sword fights or anything like that. I don't know that I've ever even like necessarily put that together. So I think you made a good point. All right, way to go, Javi.
All right. Well,
The right man's on the job for Batman Begins chapter by chapter.
well, thank you.
I just thought it was entertaining. I thought it was good. It was, man, he's in a tough. How's he gonna get out of this pickle? And he does. When the building, let's see, yeah, when it like does the explosion or whatever, I think part of that was in the trailer or something.
Yeah.
So I think I
Yeah.
remember being like, that was in the trailer, like one of those things. I thought the fight was great, and I thought Bruce's stance, it was. Of course, I was waiting for Batman. I'm ready for Batman and everything, but it's just what great substance we're getting with all of this.
Yeah.
Like they're winning us over on Bruce so much on this, and it's not ham-fisted and it's not cheesy or cornball or anything. It's just like it's building the superhero and who's the man behind the superhero and getting us on his side, in which I think Goyer or Nolan, I think it was Goyer though, it said something about, putting such emphasis on make people believe in Bruce and then we've got him,
Yeah.
And so I think with this and then the fight, obviously we know Bruce is going to come out on top, but it is sometimes like, I know he's going to come out on top. How is he going to come out on top? Is that going to be interesting? And I thought it was really interesting. Like, it never bored, never skipped this part when watching the movie or anything, because it is like, oh, this is a good, entertaining scene that has stakes, has more than just like, well, we just need a sword fight just to do some action. It doesn't overstay its welcome. It does what it needs to do to keep the movie going.
I've seen this come up online in the years since. I was curious your take on it. Is Bruce guilty for Raz's death in this scene?
No.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Bruce gets out of, an enemy. This is where people just, I think, I don't know, like to argue online and put their noses in the air and stuff like that. It's like a dude's trying to kill him. So Bruce is defending himself and something comes flying down and he gets
really
out of the way.
circumstantial.
Yeah, that's a total, you'd almost say he's definitely more responsible for
the
real Raz at the end than this one here. Like, I never thought at all that he just contradicted what he'd said with the criminal part was an execution that they're trying to get him to do. That is completely different.
Yeah.
Than defending yourself and a roof falls.
Well, his ultimate problem was he didn't mind his surroundings.
Boom. Yeah.
So maybe that's a clue right there that it wasn't the real Raish.
That's true. They're going, oh my God, you're covering up. Revealing so much here, Javi.
So my next question is no longer applicable because I was going to ask if you thought that this was it for Raish or Raz the first time you saw it, but you knew it wasn't the real guy. So I guess you just kind of were like, okay, got that out of the way.
And I can't sit there and pretend 20 years ago that I remember exactly first viewing every single minute and moment of seeing this the first time with that. But it is so like, and we've only come to see it now with comic book movies of like, sometimes even if you do see them die on camera, like, let's just put a pin in that with them for now. And when it says with this Ducard at this moment, when he says, I'll tell him that you saved his life, it's like, let's put a pin in him. We'll come back to him. He's not done. And of course now I would love to somebody who's never seen the movie to watch it and act, and then pick their brain of like, what'd you think? Like, he's done? Like, we're not going to see him again? It just seemed like an ellipsis,
No, I definitely recall when I saw it, like wondering if like they were going to do something with like a Lazarus pit to bring him back, and just trying to figure out, in that moment, like, would that even like work in this world that we've already, established going forward? But then,
so you didn't know the twist.
I did not know the twist.
So were you disappointed because you went into this movie knowing a lot more about the character? and like, oh, he's done.
I just kind of had a question. Like, is this one of those, Burton Schumacher era things where we're just going to kill the villains left and right and move on? Or like, are they going to lean into the mythology and have him be resurrected somehow?
Yeah.
Typically, it just extends his life. It doesn't bring him back from the dead. But, it's like it's a movie. Anything can happen. But before I could even really dwell on it for that long, I mean, like the movie's still chugging.
Yeah.
So the building's going up. Bruce grabs the unconscious Ducard and attempts to carry him to safety until the place explodes and throws them both sliding down the icy cliff to their doom. How impressive is this stunt?
My biceps hurt.
Right?
Watching. I say that as if like my massive biceps, Javi, they hurt when I see those. No, I just think of like I extend both arms and I just think of like, oh my gosh, like 180 pounds, 200 pounds in one arm with like, oh my gosh, that like
I feel like my shoulder's dislocating when I watch that movie.
and my body aches a little bit like, oh my gosh, how did they make this? And then I think in watching it now, because the nerdier we've gotten over, as we've gotten older and stuff too, the more behind the scenes stuff. I mean, obviously the moment that this came out on DVD and I was watching all the bonus stuff and how perfectly Nolan shoots this to cover up the stunt guys' faces, during these close-ups and the shot coming over the ledge and all that, is really well done. That it's even now, and just rewatching this part for this conversation, like looking at it, I'm like, yeah, they do a really good job. Like, I believe that that's Liam Neeson and Christian Bale in that scene right there. Can you believe how Christian Bale used his amazing biceps and was holding on to Liam Neeson? We got like 3 Taken movies because he didn't let go. Thank you, Christian Bale.
It's just, there's something to be said for just how practical everything is too, with the locations and like I don't see that there's anything like one for one necessarily in this, like compared to like a James Bond movie, but the beginning of this film just reminds me so much of like a Bond movie, because you're going to all these exotic locations and you're really there in the place, and it's such a departure from the 4 movies we'd had previously where it was all set based. In London or in the Warner Brothers lot, and it gives it such a scope. And when you see like the cliffside and all the background behind it, like it just, the production values of this just blew me away, and it keeps giving that same thrill every time I watch the scene. So
I think because of that only helps the story, because it just, when it's all feeling so much more real, I think you're just getting more attached and more invested. You're just kind of getting more involved with the movie, which I know can sound, very like hoity-toity and crap like that, but like I think you do. Like when everything starts looking fake on movies, you can still enjoy them, but there's a little bit of distance from it, and when this is like, no, you're seeing like these epic shots like on his, as he's walking to there, and everything is just like, wow, look at this, and going up this hill into this place, like wow, and he's sliding down that, and then you see this behind the scenes stuff and see where they're really there and doing all of that, and it's just, you just get, I think it draws you in even more.
Yeah, it's a different vibe than like Avengers Endgame, where the finale is literally 20 actors on a green screen with some fake rubble.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
But we're going to put a quick pin in this conversation to have a quick word from our sponsors. So Bruce takes Descartes to the nearby village and leaves him in their care. And then we cut to a disheveled and muddy Bruce walking down the runway towards a private plane where Alfred awaits. There's something about this moment that feels like a coming home as Alfred greets him, right?
Yeah. Master Wayne. I've been gone a long time. Love it.
It's not bad, man.
It's, I waited 20 years to drop that, so I'm glad. Very mediocre. I'll take it. A B minus. Okay, that's fine.
So as Bruce and Alfred fly back, the script lays down the groundwork of what's to come, right?
Oh my goodness.
Bruce knows he's got to become a symbol to shake people out of their apathy. And Alfred remarks how this disguise would protect those Bruce cares about from retaliation. Do you think that they're laying it on the reasoning a little thick here, or is it needed for those not as steeped in comics to get on board with the premise?
What do you mean? Like, do we need all of this big chunk to get on board?
Like, I feel, and granted, I've been reading comics as long as I have a memory, So to me, I don't question why they wear a mask to do what they do.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like, Alfred, like, talking about this being the symbol and concealing your identity. And he's like, I assume it's to protect, the people closest to you from retaliation. He's like, you're thinking Rachel. And he's like, I was thinking about myself.
Yes.
Like, I feel like that's more for the uninitiated than for, like, the comic fan at large.
Yeah. Well, I think
like they're trying to reason why not only the protecting your loved ones thing, but like the whole, like, Bruce is donning this symbol to like they're rationalizing why a guy would dress up as a bat.
Yeah.
And saying it in the movie, because I feel like in the Burton film, they talked a lot about why he would dress as a bat. They're like, Michael Keaton is 5'10", and he's going out and doing this every night, so he's got to intimidate people, and that's why he's got the sculpted muscles and all that. They say a lot of it in, like, the EPK stuff, but it's not really vocalized in the movie. And here, like, they're telling you exactly why he's going to put on a costume.
Because I think they also word it and deliver it in a very real way that's also not spoon feeding. It's not, Alfred, I'm going to dress up as a bat and I'm going to jump on rooftops and then I'm going to take out these criminals in Gotham so that crime will stop in Gotham City. Like, can you imagine if that was the dialogue? Like, oh my God. Like, but he says it's delivered, in a very believable, humanistic way. And I mean, that's the writing, but it's also Bale, And
I mean, he makes it work.
Yeah, it's a really great monologue piece, I think, and one that I know Bill and I back in June, we each did kind of like our own, like, 5 scenes from Batman Begins that's our favorite, and this was definitely one of them, because it's like when you get the whole trilogy, it's like, man, this is almost the foundation of the trilogy. This scene right here, and I think it's one that you can rewatch and absorb, and then Nolan does a really good job in his movies and these movies of having the little bits. No, we're not, like, he's not doing stand-up comedy bits in movies, but he's got fun little interactions, like real character interactions that can make you kind of like like a little, just little snicker. Most of them coming between Bruce and Alfred, and I think that's the best and biggest relationship in the whole trilogy, which people can argue in the third one, but it's like it's their breakup that's really, like, sad and heartbreaking. But, like, in this too, seeing their dynamic and their interactions, that's just like yes, we need Bruce and Alfred like this. We need them like this. And so even in this, as Alfred's listening, and he's jumping in with questions when he has them, but then the funny part, actually, so I was thinking about myself, and then you can borrow the rose if you like, just bring it back with full tank. Like, awesome, like, because that's what you love, like, snappy, especially like older men. If you had them, then them in your life, they're on somewhere on another level. You're thinking of, like, grandpas, or your father gets older or something. Like, they can have some of that, like, really good snappy, like, I don't know, like, comedy, like, funny lines, and they're really quick with it and stuff like that too. And I love, like, of course, I love Michael Caine in this. Challenge accepted to all future Alfreds to try and top him. He's my favorite. but I don't know. I love this scene. I think it's great.
Well, there's a lot of like year one influence throughout this movie, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more in a second.
Really?
But
Oh,
yeah,
I had no idea.
I think they may have read it. But one thing they don't do is they don't adapt him dressing up as the Drifter and going to the East End and realizing that just being a guy, dressed up like a vet isn't the thing that's going to help him fight crime, right? They don't do that. Instead, we have this scene. And what I like about it is like you see as Bale looks out the window, like you see the wheels turning as he's putting together, what his experience was traveling the world, what he's, just learned from the League of Shadows and about theatricality and deception and hearing from Alfred, how his parents tried to do things in Gotham before they died and how their death galvanized people for a time. Like seeing, he puts all that together in this scene. And I think it's a really cool moment. And one thing we haven't talked about for this part is Mr. Earl has had Bruce declared dead so he can take the company public, which leads up to that witty banter between Bruce and Alfred that you were just talking about.
Yeah.
And I wanted to just touch on it one more time. Up to this point, we've seen Alfred be his caretaker, offering comfort and consolation, either when he was young or when he was coming back from college. But there's something about the dynamic that is changed once they meet, at the airplane. And it becomes a little lighter, even evidenced by the way that we see the scene lit. Like, do you feel like something shifted in the time that Bruce has gone away between the two of them?
Shifted between
like their relationship. Like, does it seem like maybe not necessarily partners, but there's I just feel like there's a lightness to it. And like the lines that you mentioned, the joking, like we don't really see Alfred doing that until this moment. And then they kind of get like the playful banter with each other going forward in this movie and the next.
I think we have the flashback of college student Bruce, and I think Alfred's the same. It's just that scene Bruce is kind of cold, you know, and I think it's him.
So it's not Alfred that's changed, it's Bruce that's changed.
Yeah. And Bruce is a little bit more open with him. And I do, and I think that just paints such a nice, warm blanket of Alfred in this, and how that plane, the door opens and Alfred says, Master Wayne, it's been a long time. And, rather than like, we've got some shit we've got to figure out here because you were a jerk to me, something like that. Like, we didn't need any of that. And Alfred it's an instant of just, which they didn't leave it on, on bitter terms or bad terms that we saw or anything. It's because even that scene where, it just like, still haven't given up on me. Never, and then that's, I think, the last we saw of those two until this moment. So, yeah, I think it's just Bruce's warmer approach to him than the last that we saw. Bruce changing opens the door for them, the next hour and a half or however long.
And I think, the time periods that we saw Alfred in didn't lean into the, acerbic British humor that we see in the comics and like Batman the Animated Series. Like, he's not really going to be kidding around when like this 10-year-old boy is crying at his parents' funeral. So that might be part of it too. But like, there's just something about this scene. Like, I feel like their dynamic changes going forward, and we do see more of that traditional Bruce Alfred relationship. Like, it gets established here, and then we're just off to the races for the rest of the trilogy.
Yeah.
But back in Gotham, Professor Crane is testifying in court about his recommendation for Mr. Zsasz to serve his rehabilitation in Arkham, not prison. Now, Zsasz first appeared in Batman Shadow of the Bat #1 in May of 1992, drawn by Norm Brayfogle, your favorite. While we only see a flash of him right now, we can still see the tally mark scars commemorating each of his victims. So, knowing that you're a Brayfogle guy, how cool was it for you to see him on the big screen?
It was very cool, and I also know this first view or this first shot of him, he doesn't look anything like Zsasz.
He doesn't have triangle black eyes.
Doesn't have triangle black eyes. He doesn't have a flat top. I was thrilled later on in the movie that we do see, we do see the scars of the tally marks. But the idea of just the fact that they say Zsasz is like, yeah, because that was a terrifying issue in Nightfall with Zsasz at the girls' school. Like, I read that issue so many times growing up because it was a flat out, it was a horror movie in comic book form for me growing up. Like, it scared the crap out of me. I loved it, which was weird, but
was that your first experience with him, or did you get Shadow? Okay, so that was like
Nightfall was
big
my
moment.
Yeah, that was and then not long after that was when I went back to Shadow of the Bat and saw his first appearance and stuff like that. But yeah, the Nightfall issue, I believe, is Batman 493. Killer cover, right? No pun intended. But also terrifying cover. Yeah, that was one of my favorites. So, to answer your question, cool.
It's one of those things. Sorry. It's one of those things where in this first scene, like, I had to pause the 4K just to make sure, because you only see him for like 2 seconds. Mm-hmm. And now with, the increased resolution, you can make out the makeup. It's just around his neckline by the collar of his shirt. And he's pretty covered up in this scene because he's in court. So, I mean, that I shared your enthusiasm because I was there like it was a place. I bought Shadow of the Bat, off the comic book stand when it came out in '92, and this was part of the lead up for Batman Returns. It's like, we're getting another Bat book, and the 4th monthly Bat book, and I read more Batman than detective. And so you and I have talked about this in other shows. Like, I was more of an Aparo kid growing up. You were more of a Brayfogle kid growing up. And I wanted a certain amount of money, so I stuck with Batman. And occasionally, like, my friend would get detective, and I'd read his issues. But I felt like when I first saw Zsasz, the way they introduced him, like, he already exists in the world. So I thought maybe it was some older issue of detective that I'd never seen before. Like, I didn't understand that was actually his first appearance. But he struck such a chord. Like, he's such a memorable villain of what he does. So even though he doesn't quite get, the spotlight that Scarecrow does or Raish, it was still really cool to have him included because, I mean, as well as I do, like, it takes forever for these movies to come out.
Yeah.
And they're not the frequency of the comics. So anytime we can even get like 5 minutes of a villain, I think that's a good thing, as opposed to, the Burton Schumacher era where it becomes, let's spend all the time establishing these villains and then you get less Batman. Yeah. So, after the hearing, Rachel confronts Crane, with Crane calling her out in front of the DA Carl Finch, who wants her to drop it for her own safety. And witnessing all this is Bruce at a payphone, disguised as a drifter. Did you make the connection to Year One visually?
Yes. Yeah, so that I did. By the time I've seen this, I had Year One. I'd read it quite a few times because also when you're a kid and you've only got
the
6
same
Batman books, because 6 is good. You read them over and over and over and over. So yeah, Year One, I felt like, no, this isn't him in a stocking cap, but it's the Batman Begins version of that, and I totally liked it, even though it's not like they're making it of like, let's do 30 minutes of Bruce Wayne like this or anything. It was just that one stood out to me instantly of like, oh, this is like Year One.
It was a
Awesome.
nice tip of the hat.
Yep.
So, in another moment, harkening back to year one, Bruce is compiling his notes
Can I
on the
rewind?
Gotham he has returned to. What's that?
Can I rewind? Just two
Yeah,
things.
let's go back.
One, I have always loved Scarecrow because I'm a big horror fan, and I thought Scarecrow has good aesthetics of a horror figure.
Yep.
I was very excited of him being in this movie. So yeah, we just got our first shot of Dr. Crane, in which we'd seen a picture of Dr. Crane by Cillian Murphy before the movie came out and whatever, and I was like, looks like Jonathan Crane, to me. And I'd only known the guy from 28 Days Later.
Yep.
So that was like, I kind of came in fresh on him. And then I did think this, promise you. Finch, instantly in my head was like, die to make room for Harvey Dent. Seriously thought, let's do that. Just like I can sit here and remember telling my uncle with The Dark Knight of like, of like, yes, Rachel died because that makes room for Catwoman to be the love interest in the next one. Like thinking that as opposed to the story itself, but like, I don't know, much like Coulson in the Batman, it's like, yeah, die, make room for Harvey Dent. Like it just seems like that's what happens. If you're not Harvey Dent and you're a lawyer in Gotham, your time's up. It's coming. So I did think that. I'm not going to say like, I knew he was going to go looking at the shipping and that's how they were going to. No, none of that. It was just in my mind of like, how do we get this guy out of here to get Harvey Dent in?
I'm glad the internet didn't spoil that pivotal moment in the film.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. It would have ruined the whole movie.
So Bruce is compiling his notes on Gotham and he gets distracted by a bat flying around the study. And we can see from the newspaper headlines that crime is out of control in the city, public loses faith, and Bruce is scribbling all this stuff down like Gordon plan, could be Flass. I can't tell Christian Bale's handwriting. Judge Faden, Rachel, Gotham City, all this stuff. And I love this like tactile analog approach here.
And the pictures aren't just like, we did a costume fitting for Katie Holmes's Rachel, and that's the picture that Bruce has,
Yeah.
that you see in movies all over the place of like, this is like, this is,
they look like surveillance photos.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's such a small, kind of unimportant detail, but it's something that if it stands out to you, you can't shake it, like it just, from there on out, you just kind of end up noticing that. So it all looks very much, yeah, like you said, surveillance and yeah, good stuff.
And so we got the bat. So instead of the bat crashing through the window and landing on the bust of his father, like it's just flying around in the room. And anyways, you got Alfred walking in, blessed bat again. So they nest somewhere on the grounds. My Michael Caine needs work, I admit it.
Love it.
This sparks a memory for Bruce, and he uncovers and revisits the well where he fell. And this takes him further underground, and he discovers the Batcave. Having disturbed them, he gets swarmed by the bats, but they aren't attacking him, and he slowly rises and immerses himself in them without fear. Did you? I want to say it was on The Dark Knight, actually. Did you watch that documentary on the DVD talking about like the psychology of The Dark Knight and immersion therapy?
I did when it first came out, and that's just one I never go back and rewatch.
Well, all right then.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird to me of like, it's almost like a book of like psychology of Batman 2 or something. Like, I don't know. It's so weird to me that I'm like, I don't need to do a deep dive of psychologist deep dive on a fictional character. But what do we do when we podcast all the damn time? Like, but for some reason, I don't read those books, and I did watch that, but I could, you could be like, I will give you $1,000 right now. Just name something that happens in it. And I couldn't come up with anything. I don't remember anything about it.
Yeah, they have, the woman talking, the doctor talking about it. And, about immersing himself in the thing that made him afraid to conquer your fears. And this is like that subtle way of like we're hearkening back to that theme of fear and how Bruce is overcoming it, because this was the thing that scared him as a 10-year-old. He'll later say, like he's picking this symbol because it's something he feared, and now his enemies will share his dread. And it's a much more grand telling of like the year one bat through the window landing on his father's bust, because it's just the whole cave. Like there were bats in Keaton's bat cave,
Yeah.
but nothing like this. And I don't
Yeah.
even recall seeing any bats in the bat cave in the Schumacher movies. But like
Yeah.
Nolan really puts you in like this is a bat cave, like they live here. And it sets up where we go, at the end of Act 2, when we get that other year one homage.
Yeah, and this one I do like. So the music, it's also great going back and listening to music
Music
and
is
begins,
so good in this movie.
because you do just see how it's the foundation for the music in Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah.
Like it's just like it's the the bottom layer, and then they build on that for the next one, and they build on that for the next one. So but like as it builds up for this, and how symbolically of him, just it is Bruce, just like he's just facing his fear. What's his fear? Bats. And like we've seen why he's afraid of bats and the link of bats up to this point, and he's just like standing up to his fear at this, which is I think it's another thing of like why do we care about Bruce Wayne? It's like because he's human, and this is the root, the seed of his problem that he's trying to overcome right now is human. It's human. It's fear. Like we're all afraid of something, and we have to put on our big boy pants and face the fear, or else we're never going to get over it. And so that's just kind of like what this moment is, and it's very crucial for him to then take the next step in the next section of the movie.
And I'll let you in on a secret. My cousin knows this about me.
Uh-oh.
But like I'm not the biggest Hans Zimmer fan.
Okay.
But Hans Zimmer.
Bye, Javi. See you later. Get out of here.
Zimmer and James Newton Howard together.
Mm-hmm.
That's peanut butter and chocolate, man. That is
Mountain Dew and Fruity Pebbles. I tell you what.
Batman and Robin, and their score on this movie. I haven't really talked about it too much, but their score in this movie, and in this 10 minutes that we're talking about too, like just on fire, like just so great.
How does this score match up for Batman scores for you?
It's up there.
Yeah.
Maybe third. I found a new appreciation for the Elfman stuff when I got the Mondo 2XLP expanded version, because I think I had burned myself out listening to my cassette tape for the last 36 years. No, that's not right. No, yeah.
Right? Yeah, you're right. 36. 6 is good. It's all back into 6. Come on.
And hearing like the whole thing and all the pieces I've been missing, like reinvigorated my love for it. But man,
nice.
I love the Batman soundtrack. I listen to that pretty much now every time that I read a modern comic book.
I don't not like, if I were to one that I never listened to is Batman the movie. Like I don't even know if that's available. I never look it up because I'm not. That's not.
La La Land has it on CD. I've got like a few tracks of it digitally through iTunes.
Yeah,
and it's a nostalgic thing.
Sure, but like both Elfman scores, I love. Like the 89 score is the first one, like the first music from a movie that I ever actually like. No, I just want to listen to the music. I even like Forever. Batman and Robin is pretty much forever.
Yeah, copy and pasted.
And then the Nolan trilogy, I think they're all great. I like Batman vs Superman's, and then of course the Batman. I think is maybe the closest to Elfman on having such a mood and having like it's variety in tracks. You know,
Yeah.
I do think that that's something with Zimmer's. And this is like an observation. It's not necessarily a criticism. I do think there's a lot of repetition in tracks. You know, of like, oh, this sounds similar to the track from 3 tracks ago, and stuff
Yeah.
like that, which is completely fine. And I think that Elfman and definitely Giacchino have such variety in every single track.
Yeah.
That
For
being
me,
said, I like this
for
one.
me, they're above the Zimmer stuff for the trilogy for sure. But
Yeah,
it's not to say that this isn't so good.
agreed.
Um,
Yep. Because that moment there at the end here of this chapter 2 of that building up, like audio works with video so well in this.
yeah.
Boom.
No, it's
Yeah.
a perfect moment in film. So that is the end of this chapter. And in case someone's listening to this podcast and they don't know where you are, where can people find you on the internet? That is.
I've got a lot of stuff written up on batman-on-film.com. So you can check out stuff there. Bill, for some reason, has had me on quite a few social hours to hear my voice. There's a lot of my voice on Batman on Film. There's a lot. But you can find there also my podcast, The Batman Book Club, which Bill generously posts on the website. Yeah, just go wherever you listen to podcasts. Check out that show. Most recent one was with old Peter Arvera, where we talked about Batman comics in July. And the next one is talking Batman Gotham Knights number 32 with Jay Yaws, which is we talked about in the episode, and I've said a lot. You may not know the story, but you definitely know the cover. And yeah, we do a nice little deep dive into that issue. And it was nice and refreshing because we even say on the episode as well of like, I like big stories. I like 12-issue stories, 8-issue stories, 10-issue stories, and all that. But sometimes when a guest picks a 20-page comic and that's it, it's like, oh my gosh, that's how much homework.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And it's kind of nice. It's a nice breath of fresh air. And Jay did that. So check out for that because that'll be pending when this drops. It may already be available. What?
Nice. So you can just click on that episode as soon as you finish listening to this one.
Yeah.
I have a confession.
Uh-oh.
It's been Superman, Summer of Superman.
Gosh, traitor. You're starting to sound like Garrett.
So I have fallen behind on my Batman Book Club episodes. So I haven't listened to the June or July monthly wrap-ups yet. And just spoil it for me. Has Peter changed his mind on Absolute Batman yet?
No.
Didn't think so. I'm really curious.
He enjoyed
With a sense of dread about what he's going to think of this month's issue. Because, oh my God.
Yep, haven't read that one yet. And I don't remember if it was me talking to him on the phone or if we said it while recording or both. But he said, I like how you described that issue way more than the issue. And I was like, oh, okay, thanks. He's just not a fan. And I'm up and down on that thing. 10 issues in, as of right now, haven't read issue 11. And yeah, I'm so up and down on that book. And apparently Pete and I are on an island because a lot of people like it.
I talked to Bill about it. Like, we need to do an episode of the four of us at the end of the first year and hash it out. Because I know Pete's mentioned on your show, like, he wants to interview me like why I like this book. And like, well, I feel the same way, buddy. Because like, I don't understand how you hate it with such fervor, but then like other books as well. Like, I'd love to hear more of what doesn't work for him on that title. But
yeah,
I know you got to roll. The second question I have, and I know how you work when it comes to reading things, but have you read Batman #1 yet with your BOF privileges?
I have not. I'm kind of
Okay. All
I'm
right
kind
then.
of sitting on it. Like I
Yeah.
know that it's been available for us too, and I'm just sitting on it. And I don't know why, but I'm just I don't know. I know that it's there and it's comfortable to know that it's there. So when
Yeah.
I'm ready,
Well,
when I
it's
can
coming
give
out
it
really soon.
yeah, we're just
It's
3
going to be
weeks.
really confusing when that
Batman
comes
1,
out because I
Batman
can't see.
162.
Yeah, I don't see them stopping the release at this point, but we still have the prior volumes coming out. And then
Yeah.
is Hush 2 taking over the new Batman volume when it comes back for the second part of it?
The last ever mentioned. So, there's 2 more parts of Hush 2 coming
Part
in
1.
September.
Yeah.
And yeah, Hush 2 Part 1. September and October, and then there's been no mention. That is supposed to be the first half of Hush 2, and then the second half of Hush 2 is coming at a later date that should basically close the book on the Hush character story from Loeb and Lee. But there's no mention on when that will possibly be, if it's going to be its own thing, if it's going to be part of the Batman. Like, that's literally all that they've released about it. So, who
I
knows?
don't think I've seen anything else.
Will it have a Batman 89 Echoes sort of release? I don't know. Maybe. 8 months
that
between
came
issues.
out. Yeah. That
No, I
finally
know.
wrapped up at least, right?
Oh,
I still
yeah,
haven't read it, but
It did, and the previous issue was 8 months prior to that, and the issue before
Yeah.
that was like 3 months, and so yeah, that was a pretty wild release. Which you can hear me and Pete talk about it in the latest wrap-up episode of the Batman Book Club. There you go. It's all connected.
there you go, folks. Well, that's going to do it for us this episode. As you can tell, you can follow me at batmanonfilm.com reviewing Batman and Robin and Batman and Robin Year 1, in addition to Gargoyle of Gotham whenever that comes out.
Speaking of releases.
Yeah, speaking of staggered releases. And then, of course, on the YouTube, we've got the Batman Chapter by Chapter series. Bill just dropped an unboxing review I did of the Batman Hush maquette from Tweeterhead. And soon he will have my unboxing for the InArt 1/12 scale Dark Knight Rises Batman figure. Woo. And I just sent him the unboxing for the Hot Toys The Flash Batman Modern Suit unboxing. So keep your eyes peeled to the YouTube channel for those videos coming up this month. But that's it for us, folks. Thanks for listening. And we'll have announcer Rachel take us out.
You have been listening to Batman on Film Chapter by Chapter, a BatmanOnFilm.com podcast revisiting the cinematic adventures of the Dark Knight, scene by scene, chapter by chapter. Follow Jet on Twitter at Batman on Film. For BOF news only, follow at the Batman on Film on Twitter. To become a BOF patron, go to patreon.com/Batman on Film. To advertise on BOF, visit advertisecast.com/Batman on Film. For Jet and Team BOF, I'm announcer Rachel. Authoritative, definitive, the original. Batman on Film. Established in 1998.
Batman flying night sky. Jet had a dream, now we're flying high. Since 98, it's been online. All the Bat fans gather and shine. Dark Knights and Gotham tales, rockets with stories and never fail. We love the Bat, right from the start. Batman on film, straight to our heart. Jet's on the mission, spreading the word. Every bat flick, every unheard, classic tales and brand new Batman movies bring shades of blue. From the Joker's laugh to the hero's call, Batman time, standing tall. We love the Bat, right from the start. Batman on film, straight to my heart. News and reviews, a community here, that family full of cheer. Since '98, we feel the thrill, keeping the bat vibes alive still. We love the night, right from the start. Batman on film, straight to our heart.